In today's world, trade is the largest of global markets supply chains, which includes competing brands, quality standards, movement of goods across borders, business regulations, cutting-edge skills and services. All these activities match up to make a difference. What is behind the headlines? What impact does it actually have on people's daily lives? How can we develop programs that will support countries to get ahead on trade? Trade activities are getting people to act on the agenda of improving trade globally. Agencies and development partners are supporting countries in their roadmaps for change. It's building strong foundations and helping governments bridge to more support. Business Focus takes a closer look at every step involved in the aspect of trade, from identifying, buying, selling, and distribution of goods and services to various parts of the world. Find out from the people themselves what is happening in the daily trading activities and how they go through the hurdles in achieving greatness, from the fields, factories, gardens, markets, and to the consumer. Okay.
Fambul, welcome again to another edition of Business Focus. And as we turn at the essence of this program, now for bringing salon business to now, let us able to understand what actually they happen inside the business world when we talk about salon. And also, when we talk about business, not me say for go to market, just go buy, you come and sell, give people them. No, that's not a business. Business means from the factory. We watch at the tourism industry, entertainment. These are all businesses. People that just, if you say we go Dove Court, you buy come. No, not to that. Well, today we look at business in tourism, particular, where we get one popular place, where I do today, where na Takogama, where plenty of people know. Where you hear about Takogama, you must talk about Bruno. Say Bruno be there, where he be run away and go. So we come today and we talk to director, we na Director Bala, we na the director for this particular place, and na the founder for this particular place. And as we all know, say because of the hard work and other things that we don't do, on the 27th of April, this 2021, Independence Day, His Excellency began one of the biggest awards at the land for his selfless and efforts we don't put for make sure say he maintain this place and let people themselves not say salon we can preserve things them like animals and the babu them we talk about them. Well, we're there with Director Bala. Director, welcome to the program.
I'm happy to be part of this program. Thank you for Star TV for contacting us.
Okay. Well, Fabul, let we go for a short break, and as you know today the program we mix some small, as you know, say the Hector Bala, they talk the Creole, but he will come and do the small English as every side.
Okay.
Therefore, we mix some today. Let me take a short break. When we come back, we continue with the program.
earth and the voices on high, so that the hills and the valleys will re-echo our cry. So this blessing and peace will be ever thine. Oh, land that you know, I was here around you. Blessing and peace, I say, will be ever thine. Oh, land that we love, I was here around you. Yeah, mama, no. Yeah, yeah. One with a faith that wisdom inspires, one with a zeal that never dies. Ever we seek to honor thy name, for us is the labor, kind of fame. We pray that no harm on the children may fall, that blessing and peace may descend on us all, so that we may serve thee ever alone. Land that we love, I was here around you, so that we may serve thee ever alone. Land that we love, I was here around you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Knowledge and
Fambul, welcome again from that short break. And I believe say you don't ready now for sit down and watch the program. Well, today basically we dey look at Takogama, and you know, as we know say tourism. Now this country no more we see say, you know, people they don't take tourism serious. We get country the way the likes of Gambia, you know, the Senegal and other countries, and the Kenya, they depend on tourism. And if you talk about tourism, not mean say just for Gona Beach and other places, the forest, the rainforest, the animals, will get all the parts of that particular group they will talk. Well, the Exobala, they are today for tell about this particular place, and we look at as how the place done they, waiting don't they happen here, and how the place they able for generate waiting it generate. So, Director, welcome again.
Thank you. So, like how you don't they tell we say in our program we don't day for long. We established the sanctuary in 1995. That means we don't complete 26 years. Initially, government put this place together as something like an orphanage, where they enforce the wildlife law there, where they confiscate or rescue wild chimpanzees from people's homes, or sometimes from the hunter them, or sometimes from people where they deal with them, animal, they can call them the animal traffickers. So where we they impose the law and we enforce the law, where we they confiscate the animal them, government no being get a place where for go house them, because you know go just take animal now people hand, then you don't know what to do with them. So now so me come inside the picture, I sit down with the government, we set up this place, then call them Takogama Chimpanzee Sanctuary. Sanctuary is a place where you bring in some of these animals and you give them a second chance for life. They are not on a chain, they're not in a cage, you come with them, they put on a wild, like a space, which is very close to the home they don't lost before they capture them, then bring them inside. So now the sanctuary they established 26 years ago, but we realized say the sanctuary really, you know, they address the problem itself, because where they go hunt the babudem, you kill the babudem, whether now for bushmeat or something for pet trade, it can be anything. But then what you do with the animal them, right? You come with them to a place like this. This is why we realize bringing them to Takogama, you put them there, is not going to solve the problem. Okay. You get to stop the killing. You get to stop for protect the forest them where people end the damage. Because forests are the home for the animal them, especially for the babu. You know, so before go let on a ground. You need tick for claim, for building bed, for the night, for sleep. If you continue for remove all the trees, you don't get place for go. If you don't get place for go, then they reduce them into small pocket of small forests, easy for hunting man for go kill them. And it is wrong because we don't get them again. I mean, you can take, for example, like places like Rwanda. You see what in Ndon do with the gorilla there, not so? Then don't make a complete tourism industry outside the gorilla tourism. And the main economy of Rwanda is driven by that gorilla tourism. And once tourism happen, they get many people and they come for visit. But where then they come, then they look for other opportunities. So tourism brings people to some natural area, they come enjoy, but they end. Because why they multiply? It has a knock-on effect. What people do is, when you come here, you want count number 2, you see the beach, next thing, you sit down, they talk to George, now the beach, George go tell you, say, I get this business plan, this, that. So the next time that tourist, we come as a tourist, next time, they come with a business plan. So this is how normally tourism sector helps other sectors, once people begin to come. But the attraction is the beauty you have, the attraction of the people you have. So when we start, we realize, say, we don't go just sit down for receive babu no more. We got to find the root causes of the problem. What to make the babu and the kaya? What are the drivers behind all this killing? Then make Takugama begin for work outside the sanctuary. We begin to engage communities, we begin to do research, we begin work with the Ministry of Forestry and National Protected Area Authority, Ministry of Tourism, all together to see how we can fix this problem.
Okay.
But then again, you bring the Babudenka inside, you get to create value for that. People want to know what is the point, how long you want just keep the Babudenka for feed them, how you get for sustain the place, how you get for continue with the program. Now we introduce the ecotourism component. And ecotourism component is probably one of the lowest investment in terms of what you get in return. Because when you target ecotourism, you do them in a way, because of the nature they sell.
Sure.
You don't understand. You can bring the top tourists from one of the first world countries, he ready for come sleep in a hut, as long as you able to give them that scenery, where you get up. Because all around them is concrete jungle. And inside you saw high skyscrapers, building, they don't know what in our nature again. They don't lose up. We get up. So it's a way how we able to play with card, how we able to attract the people there. So we start introducing different components into the project. One is the ecotourism. Education is one, sensitization is one, providing livelihood for people. Why? Because people, they feel say forest is free for all, right? They feel say, now God give you forest, we can do anything there. The next thing is we completely damage our own environment, right? Most places you go upline, you go talk to people, them you go find out, say, that particular village in another place, simply because now they find water. That make the village can come out. Now the reason they established the village day. But the next thing you find out, say, all around these villages, then they deplete the forest, then they kill all the trees. And trees are the main source. They are the ones holding the water. Now they hold the water. Now from beside forest day, under the river, the stream, they begin. Then tributary, and then they come join before it becomes a river. All that happens from the forest.
Sure.
If you continue to damage the forest, you lost your water, then the very reason of your existence become a question. Who say you get for go? Pass you move. Look what it don't happen now. We north, go to Tonkolili district. Almost every forest in that area is gone completely. It is like desertification taking place there. Okay, yes, it's true, we need for develop mining industries there, but sometimes if it is not properly controlled and not proper environmental impact assessment is done, the damage can be very drastic.
Very severe.
Very severe, and it's not, you cannot repair it. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay, Director, let me look at, you talk about the ecotourism, but before we look at the, we know say for over 25 or 26 years now, Takugama don't exist. You know, creating a platform like this, now one way somebody go say very good, but it's challenging. Very challenging. You know, especially when you talk about running the cost of the place itself. So when we look at like what's it be like some of the challenges for Takugama over the years?
The biggest challenge, I would say, the disappointment is the subsequent governments take this project serious to the point for give me a budget line. Because this project, people feel say Nabala, they run them all this time, but it is still 100% belong to the country, 100% owned by the government. With no financial support to this project. So initially I try very hard to engage the stakeholders, government for say, hey, now we all come together, I help una for start the project. But una no go left on my own head. Una get for find a budget line through one of the ministries or 2 3 ministries can come together, because very important work we have done. We have made sure the law enforcement regarding the chimpanzees have taken place. We are protecting one of the 2 major catchments, the Congo and the Takugama catchment. Almost 20–30% of the water to Freetown residents are going from here, especially the mountain district. That means you are somehow helping the Ministry of Water Resources,
Yeah, sure.
right? You are protecting this environment. That means you are helping the Ministry of Environment. This is the #1 tourist destination for this country, according to an independent survey by TripAdvisor. That means we are directly helping the Ministry of Tourism, right? We are working with 73 communities now, providing livelihood. That means we are also helping towards food security, alternative livelihood to people. So if you look at all these ministries that somehow Takugama is complementing, but there is no resources coming from them. So try several times, but then you are a man with pride. You feel, say, it's all about sometimes not necessarily what the government can do for you or your country. Sometimes it's also about what you can do for your country, right? So I took that lane. I decided, say, okay, if they're not able to give me, let me try what we can do. So I started working very hard, get the right people with me, contacting the right people, organizations sometimes, and we managed to keep the place going. 26 years we have run this place, 100% government-owned project without a single cent from the government. That shows that what we need is more people committed to the country. Not all man for go begin fly the flag on Independence Day for say Salon Navion we get for do something.
Sure.
Do something for you. There are so many things we can do rather than pointing at the government, they are not doing it. Yes, it's true, it hurts if they cannot help you, but that doesn't make you stop. You continue. As long as your conscience say you get for do.
Okay. Okay, now let's look at Takugama, the economic side of it, how it has been like for the country, you know, selling the image of the country to outside world, and in terms of tourism, you know, bringing more people to the country, you know, just for them to come and see this place. How has it been like for Takugama when you talk about the bringing more money or economy to the country?
Yeah, first of all, it's about we own self-sustainability. That is why we have these other things attached to the program. It's not just the orphanage. We can say Takugama is more than a sanctuary. Why? We have the ecotourism, we have the education side of it, we also do environmental impact assessment for other organizations and sometimes mining industry, sometimes for the hydro dam projects and all that. This is many ways of trying to see how we can get some income. But the ecotourism component is not just for Takugama. You got to think about how it spreads out. Because we get a few lodges here we have established. So people can come, stay with we, where they visit the sanctuary, then they pay. For staying at the lodges, then they pay. We have developed many nature trails where people can go for a walk in the forest and they pay for that. So, and we do events here. Like once a month we have a yoga weekend here where people come and practice meditation, yoga. Sometimes we have movie nights here. Sometimes we do food night here. So we find different ways of bringing some income. But that income, it doesn't stop only at Takugama. Because where you want to do then things, then you get to outsource so many things,
Sure.
right? You get to go to the person where they sell the vegetable, the person where they do some craft. I mean, ecotourism and industry touches everything, basically, when it comes to tourism. Because you need all the other sectors to come in to keep the ecotourism component going.
Yeah.
So what we have done is at least we have put Salon on the map. We have become the #1 destination for this country with very small investment. We are not like big hotels like Radisson Blu or Cape Sierra or whatever. We are very small, but still, as a small place, you can still create value for the place. That's what we have done. So a lot of people, we have people coming all the way from abroad only to come to see Takugama and the chimpanzees and stay with us. But when they come here, they don't stop here. They go to other places, they go to Mount Bintumani, they go to River #2. So it's not only when you attract a tourist to your place, it stops there. They go to the big market, they will go and buy things, right? The next thing is they will speak to other business people, they look for opportunity if they can, if they really love the place, they want to come and live in a place. Why you want to sit in cold England or Scandinavia when you can have 364 days sunlight,
Yeah.
right? So it's a matter of the tourism allows people to come in. Once you come in, it's about how we come with our policies and our act together so that we can encourage people to do more rather than just to come and see this place.
Okay, you just spoke about the ecotourism,
Yeah.
which you said, you know, you have incorporated some programs in order for you to, you know, raise some funds,
Right.
in order for you to take care of the animals,
Yeah.
and also creating awareness. So let's look at how have you taken this, not only for Freetown, but is there any other establishment in the provinces? How do you have some of these animals from people? So tell us about that.
Right. So what we are doing now is, as I said, we work with 73 communities in 4 districts now. Now, we provide alternative livelihood for these communities so that they don't go to the forest and destroy the forest. But in some cases, you see either the land is not conducive for good agricultural production, or it could be you have such beautiful scenery. The last thing you want to do is to start a farming project there. So all that scenery, they will lose it because they will slash, burn and plant, right? So there are areas where we have identified that are really good to develop ecotourism. So at the moment, Takugama is busy developing our first ecotourism circuit. So what we are trying to do is we have identified a place in Bagrua Chiefdom in Moyamba. It is called Sobengi Axis, Mobonda Sobengi Axis, which is possibly one of the highest concentration of the grey parrot, the Timney grey parrot. And there can be a possibility for a lot of people, especially bird watching people, to come here to see, stay with us. So we're trying to develop a bird sanctuary there. Recently we have done several visits there. We are trying to do an audit there, try to get a complete list of the birds found there. There are also migratory birds coming there. So we are looking at all that. And getting to that place itself is a beauty. You go to Bambatok and you take a 2-hour boat ride, go through pristine mangrove forest, undisturbed. I mean, 99% of the Sierra Leoneans have never experienced that, but I had the luck to experience it. And it's a place I go there, you never get tired. You want to go on that boat trip again and again and again. So imagine how much that can be an attractive place for people to come here.
Okay.
You know, Bambatok is 4-5 hours drive. You go there, you jump on this boat, 2 hours, you go through the mangrove all the way to a place called Sobengi. Once you come there, you go to a beautiful forest there, you do bird watching for 2-3 days. You come back, right? Fresh. You get everything fresh there. You have the boats landing there, come with their crabs and the shrimps and the fish, and oyster is probably the best oysters I've eaten in that area. In fact, we are actually helping some of the oyster women there with Irish Shade to do oyster farming, basically. So they harvest oysters, they smoke it, and they bring it. Now we are trying to see how we can even bring that to our restaurants here. So that's one place. The other place we are trying to develop is a place called Jaibui. This is, you know, everyone knows Tiwai Island, Tiwai Island.
Yeah, sure.
It's in Pujan district. Below Tiwai, there is another island called Jaibui. Jaibui in Mende is under the water, like that. So that place again is like a jewel, really, because it is really has abundance of wildlife. It has the pygmy hippo, it has the chimpanzee, it has some very rare antelopes and duikers. So this is another nice environment where we can. It's a typical. There's a primary forest on the island, which people will really love to go and see. Takugama has built our first research station there. At the moment, we are again doing a lot of inventory, wildlife inventory, to see what is there. So that's the other one. And the other one we are trying to do is the Loma Mountain. For the last 2 years, we've been working with the National Protected Area Authority to see how we can co-manage the Loma Mountain National Park. And that's again probably one of the most beautiful parts of Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Loma Mountains. Mount Bintumani is found there. The expedition to Mount Bintumani alone, it's a huge attraction for people to come.
Yeah.
And it also has, recently we did a wildlife audit, we did a survey and census on the chimpanzees. The western chimpanzee that is found in West Africa, it is probably the most endangered according to the IUCN. That means it's very rare. They might go extinct if we don't do something about it. This is one of the reasons 2 years ago we teamed up with the government and we declared the chimpanzee as Sierra Leone's national animal. And Loma Mountain has the highest concentration of this chimpanzee, the one we call babu. Now the highest concentration anywhere in West Africa. So just imagine that alone, the amount of attraction it can have. So these are the things, identifying areas with high potential for ecotourism. Because ecotourism, what it does is your input is very small, right? And it preserves everything around it. I mean, we are going through so much of disaster now, right? You don't tamper with the environment.
Yeah.
You don't come to hurt we in many ways, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, because I said that when you halt the environment,
it comes back.
it will come back to you.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
We saw what happened at Matome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look at what we're having this COVID, right?
Yeah.
It is all coming from wild animals because we are coming into contact with wild animals, right?
Killing
all
them,
this concept
eating
about
them.
One Health is about that.
Yeah.
We are all so much related, and there is always potential for disease transmission once we get closer to the wilder places.
Okay.
Right?
Director, let's look at before the coming of COVID, how it was like for Takugama, you know, in terms of the coming of tourists,
Yeah.
you know, to come and visit the sanctuary, how it was like for Takugama.
Yeah, I think we got our act together. We had many products developed within Takugama, so we had a steady flow of visitors coming. I will even boast say 9 out of 10 tourists coming to this country ended up coming to visit Takugama.
Okay.
But then, yes, COVID came and destroyed it. For we, it be even more difficult because COVID works or affects a chimpanzee, babu, just like a human being.
Yeah.
Because babu and we are almost 98.6% genetically similar. That means any disease where they affect mortal man, they affect babu back, vice versa. But in they affect the babu, you able to get them. So because of that, we've been afraid because we no get no evidence of babu get COVID, but there is a good chance mortal man be able to pass on to babu back.
To babu, yeah.
So because of that, we decided a project where you don't work so hard for 25 years, you don't develop. Can you take the risk?
No.
How can you run after money when there is so much of uncertainty around COVID? We didn't know how it was spreading, how it is coming, urare pasangi. So we decided a wise decision. We closed the sanctuary for 8 months. Place was closed totally. So that had a big impact because when you're an organization, not too much waiting on handouts, you try to build yourself to stand on your own feet. When something like this happens, everything falls. But luckily, we developed a goodwill over the years. So we had a lot of animal welfare organizations, conservation organizations, they sympathize with we. So they actually help we for sustain through that time.
Okay.
That time has come through. Luckily, we came through. Unfortunately, we have to lose some staff during that time because of the economic downturn we had. Plus, we had very strict regulations and laws were put in here to make sure no COVID will come into this place.
Yeah.
Because of that, some staff couldn't actually handle that. So some of them have to leave and go because our laws were too strict. Because of that, they couldn't work here. So we lost some good staff, but now we have kind of regrouped, got people in. Some of the old staff came back. It also gives us an opportunity now. Even now, although we don't open, but you don't see foreign tourists coming like before. So we thought our strategy needs to change. We really need to focus on domestic tourism. We need to focus on more Sierra Leoneans to come here, more NGOs, diplomatic missions, people who are already based here. How we bring them here.
Okay.
How can you have repeated visits from people? Because a person will come, you go see the babu one time, you know, we expect he come back next month back for can't see babu. You go say, I don't see the babu them, Takugama, I don't tick the box. But we are trying to see, they don't have to come back the second time to see the babu. Sometimes they go come for the yoga weekend. Because the next time then they come for go walk on the forest. The next time then they come do a movie night here. So we did try for develop other products where you go get the guest them for come again and again for a different reason.
Okay.
And during that time, we also modify the tour. We are training new people to be guided tours to do it, and also we got the forest guards are trained to take them more. So it's a nice experience when people come to go to these places. So we are trying to diversify a little bit more and to see how we are able to change the narrative a bit rather than waiting totally on the outside, because this COVID is not the first and the last, because we don't begin blunder with the environment. That means other diseases are coming.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. So that we therefore work in a way, do not depend on something alone, foreign tourists. Do your best to develop the local market so that if they come, now bonus. If they don't come, you still survive.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing I think everybody need to focus on. It's a good opportunity for develop that domestic tourism.
Okay. Okay, well, Fambul, we will take a short break. Where we come back, we will continue with the program.
We come on a salon. We come na England, but we don't run away. We come for better. We people they want for see what till we they do. We people they want for know what till we they say. Oh, we let we salon. Oh, we let we salon. Gets we find beach. We get we sunshine. We get fine popo them. We get
Fambul, welcome again to the program. And from that short break there, we will continue with the discussion. And as I tell you, inside the program today, we get Director Bala, we na the director for the Takugama Sanctuary. As you know, you for ma'am, you don't talk a lot, about the background of the sanctuary, how it starts, whether some of the difficulties where they don't go through, and some concerns and save the ecotourism we just talked about, how we need for develop the local tourism sector for let we continue and the work way that they do. And Director, let's look at another very important aspect you just mentioned, which is the educational aspect. Someone might want to ask that, how can Takugama raise money when you talk about education? Let's look at that particular aspect. How do you raise money from, the educational aspect you just spoke about?
Yeah, I think for the education aspect, when I say raise money, we are not going to raise money through education to sustain the sanctuary. It's about raising money to sustain our educational activities,
Okay.
mainly. So education, sensitization for the masses is important, because some of the problems we have is also because of ignorance.
Okay, so it means that when you talk about the educational aspect,
Yeah.
it means enlighten the people
Exactly.
about the endangered species
Correct.
of
Correct.
the animals.
Because they are the future leaders for us. We have to groom them from small age. This is why Takugama has the Takugama Kids Environmental Education Program.
Okay.
That program has been running for 20-something years, and it's got to a point we actually have a curriculum in the schools. We've been practicing, we have a workbook that runs through the school year, and kids are, they're learning differently, not just classroom learning. It is very interactive. You get the kids here, they do environmental related activities, so it's like more interesting rather than reading a book. Now we have gone to another level. Now we have teamed up with the Ministry of Education, and recently they have accepted Takugama's environmental education workbook into the national curriculum. And this is a huge bonus for us and for the country as well, and for us it's a happy moment to celebrate, because you got to a point where every little kid in school is going to talk about or learn about our environment to a level, understand the national animal, the chimpanzees, what are the drivers, what are the factors affecting it, what they need to do to preserve our environment, what are the decisions by the government where you have to challenge it sometimes, because it's us. Because the environment is not for the government, it is for all of us. So you need to groom the next generation to understand what is your right. It's not because the problem, we are in a hurry at the moment. Countries are going through difficult times. Everybody thinks you can fix everything with money. Sometimes you cannot put a value on nature at the expense of other things. You cannot, because once you lose your nature, you lost it. You cannot bring it back.
Sure.
And our amount of money, whatever the amount of money you come up with, you won't be able to fix something that you have lost. So this is why we think we must educate our children, at least when they grow up as adults and become role models, at least they have that in their head, that it's not everything we can lose because we are running after money. So education is important. So this is something we work very hard with sometimes international partners are helping, sometimes individuals are helping, but it runs, we cannot sit back and say we are a sanctuary, we are only here to look after chimpanzees. For us, for me especially, it's all about what Takugama and the chimpanzees has done towards human development. We are using the chimp as a conduit. This chimp is the reason for us to be here.
Okay.
But all what we are doing is touching the people, the
other
humans.
aspects of life.
Exactly, that's what is important.
Okay, now let's look at, there's a very big and funny story about Bruno.
Bruno, yeah.
You know, people always ask about this story. Where is Bruno?
Yeah.
Where is Bruno?
I know.
And we know that when Bruno was here, a lot of people are coming just for them to see Bruno,
I know.
just to interact with him. But he's gone. Since the departure of Bruno, how have been affected the operation of Takugama?
I think initially probably the biggest effect was, as much as you can become very famous, sometimes it takes only one small thing to damage you totally, right? So you run a project so effectively, sell that brand, it's a safe place, this and that. Then an accident happened, right, during Bruno's time. When Bruno left, people got scared to come here, so it took a long time before people built the confidence to come back. But then you must realize it's a wildlife sanctuary. Accidents are prone to happen, right? But then you have to learn from the problem and you fix it. Yeah, I mean, you have London Zoo, you have the Manhattan American zoos are there. They have accidents also, but they learn to fix it. And for us, in 26-year history, we had one accident, which is a beautiful track record for any African sanctuary,
Yeah.
if you look at it. It's like, but you cannot shut down the sanctuary because we had an accident. It's like planes are dropping here and there. There are plane crashes everywhere. That doesn't mean you and me,
don't
we
have
stop
to
flying, right? We fly. So it's like that. So it's the same example. So when Bruno left, for us, for me, in fact, they say Bala is the founder of Takugama. For me, Bruno is the founder of Takugama. Because if I didn't meet him as a small baby, there won't be any Takugama. I came here to work in another field. I was an accountant once. I work in finance side. I have nothing to do with conservation till I met this little baby called Bruno. That's what brought me into conservation, right? So for me, Bruno leaving Takugama, I was very heartbroken. I thought, well, he was kind of the inspiration behind the whole thing. Then he leaves me. But then sometimes when things go wrong in your life, sometimes you re-examine. You try to see why this is happening to you. What could be the reason? Find the reason for it. I took the reason as that Bruno left the sanctuary to show me the way that your work has to go outside the sanctuary. You cannot be sitting at Takugama and fix the problem with all our environment and all what is happening for the wild chimpanzees of Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
So I took that as the message. He had a reason, a purpose to leave the sanctuary, to pull me out of the sanctuary. Hey, don't get stuck in the sanctuary. We are just 100 chimpanzees at Takugama. How about the 6,000 wild chimpanzees in the wild? Their homes are going, their forests are going, everything is being destroyed. When are you going to become their ambassador? So get out of Takugama, go and do something about protecting our environment. So that's the message I took from it, and I'm very proud I was able to make that decision and continue with it.
So you want to say when Bruno leaves, that's changed the whole aspect of the sanctuary itself?
I think so. Sanctuary always had a plan how we can start our extension, our outreach programs and all. But I think that was the trigger. When Bruno left, that was the moment where it really hit me to say I need to find a very good reason to continue with the Takugama work. And a lot of people who know the kind of relationship I had with Bruno, they thought that'll be the end. I might stop and hand over the project to somebody. Okay, you know what, I won't be able to go to Takugama without seeing Bruno. But for me, I thought, no, I have to be stronger than that. I have to find a way to continue. And that's the way I have continued. So it's a promise made to Bruno and his colleagues to say, hey, we are not only going to sit at Takugama and look after the ones that are rescued. We also want to look after the ones that are
in the
out
forest,
there.
yeah.
Yes, so that's what we've been doing.
So how do you feel like, losing Bruno? How was it like on that particular day?
Well, it's like, we all have children, right? You have children grow up, they become teenagers, right? They find their girlfriend sometimes, so far they found something else more attractive than your own house. And at some point, or they married sometimes and they're gone with their wife. So every stages in life, sometimes you cannot take it for granted someone is with you all your life. There are stages, so you learn to accept it at some point. Time has come for him to move, right? Then you accept it and see what is next.
So since then, do you have any clue of him?
To be honest, we have had camera traps operating in the Western Area Reserve, and we have reasons to believe that the camera traps picked up some images, looks very much like him. But then these images were in a sequence with this particular chimp that looks like Bruno with other wild chimps. That means he has integrated himself into a wild group.
Okay.
That means very little chance he can ever come back, because that's where he belongs. That's where he was. When a hunter went, he killed his mother and his father or his uncles and brought him as a baby and sold it in a market in Matatoka when I rescued the chimp. So it's like the cycle goes back. He had an opportunity to go back to the wild chimps and settle back with them. So for me, it's a nice thought to think the circle has completed. He has gone back where he belongs. Okay,
now, Director, let's shift away a little bit.
Yeah.
We know that sometime when you get some of these chimps, you pay money for them. But now there is a law that said that the chimps are the national animals. So in a case you met someone with the chimps, do you have to pay money?
No. In fact, that is the perception probably by people. But Takugama has never ever paid money for every chimp all these years we have rescued. We have refused to pay money or compensate, because the Wildlife Act 1972 still prohibits anybody to hold a chimpanzee as a pet or even to kill a chimpanzee. It's just that the laws were so weak, so people were not able to comply with it because the penalties are so weak. Because of that, we couldn't put people behind bars, but we never paid for a chimp. So, but now what we have done, after declaring the chimpanzee as a national animal, now government, the Ministry of Environment and the National Protected Area Authority, with the judiciary, they are trying to look at the law very carefully and to see how we can upgrade the law to suit the current situation. You cannot declare an animal as a national animal and have a penalty of 5,000 leones for killing it or to keeping it. So now they are trying to revise the law. So hopefully by the next few months, that law will come much stronger. So that means to kill a chimpanzee or to keep a chimpanzee, the fine can be even more than $1,000 or $2,000 instead of the 5,000 leones that is on the book now. So at the moment, all what we have done is use the law enforcement officers, and we confiscate the chimp or the rescue the chimp, but we haven't penalized anybody because the law is very weak. That's what is being changed. So hopefully with the new law coming out, I think probably we will have more, we can put more pressure on this illegal trade.
Okay, now let's say in a case that someone taken the chimps from a very little age and brought the chimps to a stage that
He wants to be compensated. He
yeah.
will say he has looked after it or whatever. It is very similar. When a government says something is illegal, you don't touch it. It is like someone takes, let's say you start a marijuana cultivation. You know that it's illegal in the country. So you go and farm 2 acres of marijuana. The day they catch you, right, you cannot say, oh, well, give me money because I've grown the crop up to this point, right? The point is you have no business growing it.
Okay.
So it is the same law.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if they say chimpanzee is your national animal and you should not capture it, you should not kill it, you shouldn't bring it home, you don't do it. After doing it and you looked after it, however it is, you cannot come and ask for money because what you've done is illegal. You cannot be compensated for something that you were not supposed to do.
Okay, now as about to wrap up this
Yes.
interview, let's look at the way forward for Takogama in terms of when you look at the ecotourism, the educational aspects, and every other aspect of the sanctuary itself. Let's look at what are the way forward for this particular sanctuary.
Yeah, I think we are a brand now, Takugama. The whole of Sierra Leone recognizes, people from the outside recognizes the brand. So we can do more. As I said, one of the major things we want to do is the ecotourism circuit, because people come to Takugama are extremely happy with the experience they have, but not necessarily when they go to some other places. So we are thinking, rather than complaining the other places are not good or that it is not well run like Takugama, why don't we become these other places? That is the reason we want to develop the circuit. So instead of people coming to stay 1 or 2 days at Takugama, we can sell a package to people to come for 2 or 3 weeks, so that they come to Takugama, they go to our beaches, they go to Jaibui, they go to Bagrua, they go to Loma Mountains. So it's like a complete circuit. So a tourist coming will go as a very satisfied customer. So that's one thing we definitely want to do more in terms of developing that circuit. And it's so good that we've been recognized at the highest level now. Also getting the award was a very, very good thing for us. It gives us a lot of energy and boost to do more, at least being recognized. So now through the Ministry of Tourism and World Bank, we will be building our innovation center very soon here. And that's going to be a really good project for youth development, and it's going to have training facilities, it's going to have a resource center, facility for holding workshops and all. So that's another good thing for people to come. And between that and Takugama, we're going to set up a botanical garden, which I'm really, really looking forward to, because as you know, with all this land grabbing and degradation, Foraway College, Jala, they have all lost the land they had or earmarked for botanical garden.
Sure.
I think Takugama wants to bring that back, so we are working very hard on that project that we want to embark on. So some interesting things are coming to come, and of course the Minister of Education has clearly said that we shouldn't stop only at the primary. He has asked us or tasked us to actually go to the secondary as well. So that's another thing we want to be developing, getting also environmental related things and the national animal, all this into the secondary level as well. So that's one thing, and also open the sanctuary more for educational institutions. We want to see how we can, because we have steady flow of students from outside coming here to study behavioral studies or One Health or anything like that, but we are not seeing that much from within the universities here. So we also focus on that. We want to talk more to the universities to see how we can bring our graduates or postgraduate students to come here and learn from our experience, whether whether they want to study ecotourism or they want to study veterinary skills or they want to study in terms of how you take care of the environment, or how to do impact assessment, or so many things can be done here, which we are doing on a regular basis. So the next level is through this innovation center, probably we'll be able to expose these things better to the people, so that through that I think we can engage them better, and Takugama will leave a legacy as not just looking after chimpanzees, it is also in terms of how we have touched the people. And also don't forget, I always tell the people, if not for the chimpanzees, they will always remember Takugama for the catchments we have protected. If not for Takugama, both this area, Congo catchment and Takugama catchment, would have been destroyed a long time ago.
Yeah.
Regent, Bathurst, all hill station, they won't be getting any water. You can go to Sugarloaf, that catchment is finished. They have destroyed it completely. This is the one there. It is because of the presence. Why did we come here? Because of the chimpanzees. So the national animal has contributed in terms of security with water for our people. So that's the way we would like to be remembered.
Okay. Well, very last question. I know this one will be very interesting for you. Are you just taking care of the chimps? What about the monkeys? You know, because these two animals are related, I can say.
Yes, it's very sad sometimes for me to feel and say no to people when they call us and say, we found a monkey on the roadside, Bala, what can you do about it? To be very honest, I would have done something about it, but it's the experience I've had over the years, because I started a sanctuary with the government, right? With the hope I'll be able to hand it over to the government in 1 or 2 years, then government would have found a way to sustain the sanctuary. But that didn't happen. So it's like, I don't want to touch another thing. Again, it lands on my shoulders. If government and the agencies come and say, hey, you guys have done well, we want to do something for the monkeys as well, right? But it has to come with resources and funds. You cannot expect Bala to do this again for monkeys also. I've done good for the chimpanzees, at least we put them on the map. I think it's more like collaboration. I don't think I have the time or energy to start another sanctuary for monkeys. But with help from the government, I may consider.
Okay. That was wonderful. Nice to, for us to talk to you today.
Well, thank you, and you're always welcome here.
Okay.
And we want people like your medium to disseminate this information and people to come. And Takugama is yours, right? And it is the home for your national animal. Every Sierra Leonean should feel happy, and you need to take it as an obligation to visit here, to see some of the good things that are happening. I'm tired of foreigners coming and telling us we are doing a good job. I would prefer
because
that
that's what you normally say, that you know, they recognize Takugama outside more
than here.
Here.
Exactly.
So
that needs to change.
What's the rationale behind it?
I think I think as a nation probably we are not too much into wildlife. Maybe you like beach all the time. That could be one. Other thing is also, you know, sometimes government also need to step up. If you take the gorillas in Rwanda, there's a huge budget from the government only focused on gorilla tourism. But that hasn't happened here. We have declared the chimpanzee as the national animal. I know the current minister is trying very hard, Dr. Meminata Pratt. She's doing extremely well in terms of reviving the sector. But again, they are starved for funds. It's like, for me, what I like to see is like, okay, you declare the chimpanzee as the national animal. The next thing is that needs to be followed by resources in terms of how do we disseminate this information across the country. How do we take it to that advertisement on CNN? How do we take it to that poster in London tube station? You know what I mean? This is what other countries are doing. You know what I mean? People will read while sitting in the tube station about, you know, how do you go about visiting Rwanda and watching the gorilla tour, and going on the gorilla tour? Or how do you go to Namibia and go on the rhino tour? How do we get there? For these things, you need to spend money.
Yeah.
Declarations has to be followed with money. If the money is there, we can do a lot more.
Do we have gorillas here?
No, we don't. We don't have gorillas. The nearest place where you can find the lowland gorilla is in the River State in Nigeria. Okay. So after River State, Cross River Strait, that is almost bordering Cameroon. After that, coming all the way to North Africa, there are no gorillas. So gorilla only found in Central Africa.
And the DRC?
Yeah, DRC is in Central Africa.
Yeah.
That's the only place you see gorillas. We don't have gorillas.
Okay, in few words,
Yeah.
what can you say to Sierra Leoneans? In few words, just look at the camera and say something.
I would ask you all if you're proud of Takugama's achievement over the years. It's an obligation for you and it's your pride to come to visit Takugama and make it a point that you're part of this project. I want every Sierra Leonean to feel that way. Then I feel that something has been achieved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you.
Okay, well, Fumble, I believe say una don able for watch the interview. That's na Bala, we na the director for Takogama, and also yeah, in Paddy, we be all from Bruno, na the founding father them for this particular sanctuary. You know, since 1995 until this time, still a run. 26 years back, you know, they defend this place, but there are so many challenges in terms of funds and all other things. As Sunadoya reform. So we as Sierra Leoneans, the government, NGOs, did for come and try for boost this particular sector where now the ecotourism as the reformer. This get plenty benefits where it give to the country. If you see free to the state today for water now because they don't involve in so many other parts that they supply water, but they keep two of the most important dams where I not say right now and they produce and give Salo people free to people the water where now the Congo Dam and the Chakogama Dam where we go show now then dam then they let ourselves see what they talk. And in terms of bringing more tourists this place the one place where it can open the country in terms of tourism. When I say economy, we don't just want for depend on the mining sector, depend on agriculture, but tourism na another big sector than the way it open the country and make the country popular and bring more money inside the country. We say plenty thank you to Mr. Director Bala for where he don't taking time today and come inside the program. Well, let we go for the currency update. Where we come back, we go close the program.
This is one way we dey live. Then are the answer be great. Lord God, He make man for be the king. Just because He left the all, He make the moon and sun, sweet breeze and see the flow. That's not God in power. Where we go, they look and wonder. Take go, me brother, take go.
Welcome again. I believe say when I don't watch that particular segment where now the forex, the foreign exchange, and you don't know now if you want to go change your dollar, you want to go change your pound sterling, the euro, you don't know how much you do them for. Fabul, the program we watch today come off from Takogama, na regions, that are the western part of Freetown, and Sote we see back Mina George, Elliot Sam, the Setata, and my cameraman don't be Samoa Kamara. We don't be in the camera today for see and let able for view this program. My producers them na Leonora Jawara and Yesi Alowell, and also the executive producer na Mr. Philip Neville. We na in the operator for the Star Television, Media One Center in general. Make out the program, Mina George, Elliot Sam, and I say Tata God bless you. Stay out of trouble. You know, trouble not will meet you.